Hi, so right now I'm going to do a real off-the-cuff discussion about emotions. This is, so I'll say feelings and emotions. And with this conversation, I'm going to use the word alchemize, transcend, and transmute, or transmutation. They're all kind of one and the same. The way I look at it is it's the process of turning a negative emotion into a positive emotion. And so this is possible, and it's a practice, and it's part of emotional mastery. And that's, of course, within self-mastery. But it's very possible. The very first one that a lot of people face is fear. The fear of rejection, the fear of being judged, the fear of loss, And so once we learn to really hold space for fear and to alchemize it and turn it into love, turn it into unconditional love, that is the most powerful and empowering thing we could learn to do. It really is. And so this is one of the reasons I love deep meditation, is because with deep meditation or transcendental meditation, I haven't been a student of that particular kind, but it must be wonderful. So if that's something that interests you, this is a wonderful way to learn to work with your emotions and to alchemize. So what I learned, and I'm definitely a self-taught person in a lot of ways, but I kind of learned on accident that facing fears through meditation is a very intentional thing that the universe kind of wants us to do. And so what's really cool about it is once we learn to deep meditate and what I mean by deep is, anything longer than like 20 minutes. And that's where we usually start to go deeper into our subconscious. And the subconscious mind will start to bring up thoughts or, emotions. And at that time, I kind of look at it like a little cloud, kind of like how I talked about, and you will have a thought and it kind of passes by. But sometimes I feel like almost like sometimes the emotions come this way because they're like kind of rising up. And this is an opportunity to, instead of shoving it down like we normally would, because this could be something from like a long time ago, right? And you're like, why is this coming up, And the important thing is to sit with it. It's just to hold space for it, and just kind of be the noticer, just okay, kind of like almost like what's that called? Exposure therapy. I always picture like one of those Japanese beetles right here, or like buzzing, like, oh, like it's so uncomfortable. But then once you get past the discomfort of it, it's like, okay, it's there. And then you kind of create a space for it. And so that's like you kind of expand in a way. And it's like, it's there. Oh my God, I did it, It's like that, but like way less scary when we do it with our own emotions. So they come up, and it's kind of like exposure therapy, where we expand and we create this space for it, and we hold that space for it. And at that time, what's crazy is that's true alchemy in one way, is we're allowing it to be present, and we could see it, and we're witnessing it, and we're like, okay, what now? But that's all we do, is just hold the space for it and say, it's okay. We could get through this, and then just like magic, it just kind of poofs away and it dissipates just like a cloud would. And that's the beauty of meditation, is it does bring up some past stuff that we've kind of buried down. And so the more we do that, the lighter and higher vibration we will start to emit. And so with that, then we start to invite positive manifestations and positive experiences rather than the lower vibrational ones. So this is just now I was kind of talking about what happens to on the long term, right? So this could be stuff from when you're 17 years old, or in your early 20s, or from a year ago, it'll always be kind of random. So anyway, a lot of people, including myself, we have that feeling of confusion. Okay, so let me talk about that real quick. Confusion is normally because our ego and our intuition are kind of duking it out. Our intuition feels one way, which is connected with our soul and our spirit and our higher self, and then our ego wants something else. And so when they are, when there's a discord, then that creates confusion. Like, what, And so This is why self-awareness and having our own personal realizations are real important, and creating those boundaries again. Because with boundaries, we are not allowing certain people to affect what we want. Because of our programming from the time we're a kid, certain traditions and belief systems make us think that we want something that we truly are the essence of us doesn't want it. So let's just use an example of like someone on paper, let's say someone's like setting you up. Let's say you're a gal and there's a woman in your office is like, oh, you like this type of guy. Excuse me. You like this type of guy. Let me set you up with him. He seems like just the guy for you. And then you go to meet him and you're like, yeah, he sounds great. He makes good money. He went to school here. He owns this. That's all egoic and superficial, by the way. But then you go and you meet him, and then you're just like, and he's attractive and wonderful, but then there's no chemistry. There's like, and so your intuition's like, yeah, F this guy, and your ego's like, but look at that car and look at, so there's a little bit of discord, like, God, but like, maybe I should see this through, because if we go on a second date, then I might see a little bit more about him. But our intuition always knows right away, just right away. It'll know like there's not gonna be chemistry. So sometimes, so this is why the more we follow our intuition, we don't waste our time. We don't even go there. If we're more ego strong, then we're gonna go with tradition and what's good on paper, and what's a little bit more superficial. So the more aligned we are, the less BS we have to deal with, So that's why it's real important to be in alignment, and of course we need our ego, but for certain things we don't. We really don't at all. We just follow our emotion, follow that feeling of chemistry versus not having it. And so, and that's just one example, Anyway, I did do another presentation, but it was like a half hour long. I'm like, I'm just going to do it off the cuff. So there's the confusion part. That's usually the cause of our confusion in general. And you could look at any subject and know if there's confusion, it's because our ego and our intuition are not in alignment. And so we don't know, we're indecisive. And so the more aligned we are, the more decisive we are. So that's one reason why it's good to be a master of our emotions and a master of our self-awareness and what our beliefs are, not what the society as a collective believes or what our family or culture believes. This is the time to be a rebel sometimes. Be a spiritual gangster, be like, no, that's not what I want. So, and this is definitely a time not to settle, it's about because when we settle, we're basically wasting everyone's time. We really are, with regards to relationships. Now, moving on to alchemy again. Okay, so when we want to alchemize emotions, and I'm talking long term, we of course can, when we get good at this, we alchemize on a micro level too, But in the grand scheme of things, we want to alchemize the things that have been weighing on us for like a long time, any kind of feeling that like I keep coming back to this again, it's there again. So sometimes we don't know where it's coming from, and it could be childhood trauma. It could be a breakup in your 20s. It could be a horrible divorce, or it could be you got fired from a job and it was unjust, or it could be so many different things. And our conscious mind is saying, well, I let that go, but then somewhere inside of you, it feels like it's still there. This is where different spiritual modalities, I say spiritual modalities only because for me, when I would go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they would have some tools, but it was only till 15 years later where I found these other modalities were a lot more beneficial in like one session, what would have taken like 20 or 30 sessions with someone else. So I feel like sometimes if we go within our own system, our own mainstream systems, it's more programming. So we got to go outside of that paradigm, that paradox, all these psychologists learned these things from their same educational system, so it's all within a system. spirituality gets way more broad, and it has a lot more to offer when it comes to getting to the root of problems and not just masking them and covering them up and medicating. So, and I'm not saying that psychologists and, clinical psychologists don't have wonderful, wonderful things to share. I'm just saying for me to get to the root cause of a lot of my anxiety and panic disorder and insomnia and alcoholism, all of that was solved through anchoring into law of attraction and using spiritual modalities, healing modalities to help me. So that's why I'm spreading this, sharing this information. It's because it gets to the root. So yeah, we've got, breath work, we have meditation, we have Reiki, and the reason is because that's all dealing with energy. It's all dealing with energy and consciousness, and that's what this is all about. So the more we understand the correlation of everything, the more empowered we will be. And so, when it comes to anxiety, I always use this as an example. That's going to be in the root chakra. So along with anxiety, I felt insecure. I felt unsafe. I felt uncomfortable in my own skin. And so therefore I was a victim all the time. And then that would perpetuate victimhood mentality. And then I became a victim because I believed I was one on some level. In the conscious mind, I was like, no, I'm strong. No one's going to mess with me. I got this. But it's like, my subconscious is like, no, you don't, honey. You got a lot of work to do. Of course, my subconscious wasn't thinking that, but that's what was happening. That's what was happening because on some energetic level, I hadn't dealt with certain things. And so I was emitting that lower vibrational pulse that was inviting reasons to be anxious. And so this gets down to even a chemical level, a biochemical level. And that's what Joe Dispenza, he talks about that a lot here. Anyway, so another thing about emotions, we want to let go of the past. And so that's also part of alchemy. So rather, even if it's something that just happened like 2 minutes ago, or it's something that happened 20 years ago, we have to figure out a way to get over it, because it will hold us back. We will parlay it into our future if there's an aspect of us that's still holding on to it. So again, there's all different ways to go about that. See what works for you. I'll continue to suggest different ways that work for me, but everyone is different. And, this is about getting out of your comfort zone. Definitely on this journey, it's about stepping into a new world of opportunities and where the sky's the limit, I'm still swimming through a whole bunch of different stuff. I haven't even gone to different workshops that I'm just dying to go check out. There's so many tools out there to help us, and so a lot of the reason I love Reiki, for example, is because you don't actually have to talk about it. When there's a lot of pain, you don't even have to talk about what it is, and because a lot of traditional psychotherapy, they want you to talk about everything, and sometimes you don't want to. And so that's why I suggest doing a video diary, because you are talking about it, but it's to nobody. It's just out. It's off your chest, and it's coming out of you. It's a release. It's a release without having to be so vulnerable. So some people will say, you do that? Like, how do you look at yourself in the camera? Like, that's hard at first, but you get over that. And the reason I use a camera instead of a voice recorder is because I actually want to see my growth. We actually start to glow when we release any kind of negative emotion. We do. We start to really glow and look different. And I wanted to see that growth. And it's true. If you look at a video of me 2 years ago, I looked pale. I looked down here was all swollen, and I looked lost in my eyes. And so it's amazing how quickly, once we start to learn how to process through things and truly honor our emotions, the more we lighten up, literally, like lighten up, we really do. We lighten up in so many ways. And this only invites opportunity and invites positive manifestations, invites so much because our magnetic field is starting to open. And so we will start to glow in every way, energetically, physically, on the inside. Like we'll digest food better and just everything. Everything's connected. Everything really is connected. And so once we figure out how to let go of things, we process emotions, we identify the emotions, we learn to let go of any cultural or societal, familial, church, or religious beliefs that might be holding us back to our core values, our core intuitive values. Once we start to release those, truly just let go of them, like that does not work for me. Even though like my grandma, she was against tarot. I love tarot. So I had to reintroduce it into my life and let go of that program. Just like, no, the Catholic Church doesn't like tarot, but it is a huge personal growth tool for me. It's my truth. I'm standing in my truth. I'm standing in my power. And so that's just one example of the many that you'll find that will work for you. So this is so personal. This is so custom tailored for you. This is about your beliefs, not what your boss thinks, not what your partner thinks, not what your dad, nobody. So and that's where, again, boundaries. It's great to have those, because it's like I am my own person, and I'll be able to get through what I'm feeling, in the most healthy way by honoring myself. In my household growing up, it wasn't cool to cry in front of certain people. And so I had to hide it. And looking back, when you have that lump in your throat and you've got nowhere to go to cry, that's a form of oppression to me. That's not cool. So it ends up going deep, deep, deep down. And then that becomes my normal, always shoving them down, always shoving them down. So what ended up happening was I just walked through life numb and then having anxiety attacks all the time. So, and I was even afraid to say anything in class. I was too shy to say anything. So repressing one emotion turns into not even having that full spectrum of emotions. So not honoring your negative emotions is now not allowing positive emotions to come in. So we have to honor all of them because they're all valid. They're all true. And they're all important because our emotions are a compass as to where we should go. Back to the whole dating thing, if on paper someone sounds great and then you see them and you feel their energy and your body's saying no, listen to your emotion. It's saying no, Someone recently mentioned a job interview. If you walk into an interview on paper, it's got the right salary, it's got the right location, it's got the right, it's checking all the boxes, right? But you walk into the lobby and you just feel like something's off. Don't take the freaking job. Your body's telling you something. And so, this happened to me, and this is all through, I'm not saying, that these were mistakes. These were lessons for me. I had to learn the hard way. I remember my very first day working at Medinet, I was out in the parking lot crying to the recruiter saying, I will not go back in there. I can't. I do not like the energy in here. I was bawling my eyes out. And she's like, just go back in there, give it till Friday. This was a Monday. I'm like, I cannot. I cannot. And she's like, you have to, look at the money and look. And so she convinced me. I ended up being there for 5 years. And that was the reintroduction to my panic attacks. So bad, I went blind in my right eye. I had terrible back problems. And it stuff like that. I spiraled. Because I was trying to fit in. I was trying to do what society is telling me is right. And my intuition the whole time was like, no, 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 no. So 6 years of my life, I won't say is wasted. I learned a lot at that job. But imagine if I just stood up for myself and was like, no, I don't belong here. I don't want to work here. And there was so much drama that happened in between. But I just thought, I was so young. I'm like, this is just how it is. And I think my own dad told me, he's like, wherever you work, there's just going to be drama. And so so I accepted it. But now if I walk in somewhere and on my first day I'm crying, that is an indicator to get the F out of there. Like that's following your intuition. I followed my ego. So that's what I mean. That's just another example. So I don't want this to go on too long, but anyway, honor your feelings, honor your emotions. Know that the ego has a role, but there's certain times to tell it to shut up, take a back seat, and we have to do something what our soul wants, because our soul will never steer us wrong, ever. Our intuition will never steer us wrong. It usually will say no if something's dangerous, and if it's yes, then it's like, So, those gut feelings, those bad dreams, those anxious feelings, they're all for a reason. They're all for a reason. So honor them. Honor them. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks. Bye.